What we do know, however, is that dinosaurs were extraordinarily successful and dominated the Earth for 150 million years. But there are some reptiles today that can keep their body temperature well above that of their surroundings. And these are the tracks of one of them. These giants haul themselves up out of the sea along beaches like this in many parts of the tropics. But in order not to disturb them, I'll turn this light out and we'll look for them with infrared cameras. Leatherback turtles. Like crocodiles, turtles are very ancient creatures, having first appeared at about the same time as the early dinosaurs. Today, leatherbacks are the biggest of all reptiles and the most widely distributed, for they're found all the way from these warm tropical waters to the freezing seas of the Arctic. These have come ashore on a beach in Trinidad, where almost certainly they were hatched. Now they, in their turn, are laying their eggs here. Leatherbacks, we know, can generate heat internally. And there is proof of that if you have a look at her eggs that she's laying right now on that thermal camera. They are emerging from her body, and lo and behold, they are bright yellow, verging on white, proving that they are warmer than their surroundings. And she generates that heat within her body from special deposits of fat, so that she can maintain her internal body temperature up to 8 degrees centigrade above that of the water through which she swims. As she sweeps away the surface sand, you can see that the sand too is yellower, warmer than the outside of her shell, for it still retains the heat it acquired during the day. So how do leatherbacks retain that precious and expensive internally generated heat? Well, to start with, they have their huge size to help them. They really are massive animals. This one is getting on for 2 meters, 6 feet long, and they can grow to weigh 1.5 tons. And of course, big objects retain their heat very much more readily than small ones do. And there's another reason. Now, I am bright yellow going into white, which shows that I'm losing a great deal of my heat. But she, on the other hand, is very much darker. And that is because she has an internal layer of fat, an insulating layer, just beneath the shell, which wraps round her body. The leatherbacks are the only reptiles in the world to have this kind of insulation. Her eggs laid, she fills in the hole with sand. And now she's on her way back to the sea. Life in cold blood has been a great success. It has, after all, endured for some 350 million years. But how did it all begin? To find the answer to that, we have to go back in time and back to the water, to the age when strange fish were hauling themselves up onto the land, fish that were the ancestors of the amphibians. Amphibians and reptiles are not easy creatures to film. They certainly do interesting things, but they also spend a great deal of time doing nothing much. We needed the help of scientists who really understood these creatures. Some workers have spent over 20 years studying their animals, both in the lab and in the field. They investigate the lives of their chosen species using all kinds of gear. Some sophisticated, some perhaps less so. With their help, we had a rare chance to get under the skin of some of our subjects. Madagascar was going to be a very important location for us. It's a huge island, 1,000 miles long, with a great variety of habitats, and it's extraordinarily rich in reptiles. I first went to Madagascar back in 1960, filming for a series called Zoo Quest. Back then, I was trying to film all kinds of creatures, including the monkey-like lemurs and many rare birds. But I was particularly fascinated by the island's chameleons. There are, in fact, more species of chameleons in Madagascar than in all the rest of the world put together. There is one, the pygmy leaf chameleon, which was said to be only an inch or so long. I yearned to see it, but I never found it. Now I was back, and this time reptiles were our sole subject. Although Madagascar is only separated from the east coast of Africa by 300 miles of sea, its people, and particularly its animals, are very different indeed from those on the continent, with hundreds of species that are found nowhere else in the world. Once again, I was in search of chameleons. Then, all television was black and white, but now I could film and record chameleons in colour. And what colours they have. We had come in the rainy season, when most creatures, including reptiles, tend to breed and are therefore particularly active and interesting. And this time, I had the help of Bertrand Razahamatra, a Malagasy naturalist who's made a particular study of chameleons. He's worked on them for over 10 years and knows most kinds very well. I asked him about the pygmy species that had fascinated me for so long. So, I mean, that really is full grown?
Yes, full grown.
But then it's only that big?
Yeah, it's very small.
He suggested that although chameleons are mostly active during the day, we should look for them at night, because most of them turn pale in the dark and are therefore easily picked out in the light of our torches.
Yeah.
Ah! What is that?
This is...
What species?
This is Ustalets.
Ustleta, yeah. And male or female?
Female.
How do you know?
The color.
There's another one?
Yeah.
Oh, there's another. This one was far from upset at being woken up. Ah! It's fed. That's absolutely extraordinary. It can't possibly feed normally in the darkness. It just takes advantage of our light and finds an insect. Bravo. Well, let's go and see if we can find more. Bertrand explained that there was another reason why night was the best time to look for chameleons. When they go to sleep, they climb to the very far end of branches, where they're out of the way of predators such as snakes. There's another. And of course, that was where we found them, just as he said. Oh, that's a big one. Beautiful.
Yes.
Oh. This one is just a baby. And how old do you think that is?
I think just a few days.
A few days. So even when it's newly hatched, it knows to come to the end of the branch.
Yes. Yeah. Look, they chose the tip of a branch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, very difficult to get.
Yeah.
Of course, if it was in the day, a bird could get it.
Yeah.
But at night, safe.
But at night, safe.
Back in 1960, my chameleon hunting techniques weren't quite so expert. However, I did discover that if you put a stick in front of a chameleon, it will usually obligingly walk onto it. But now, with Bertrand as my guide, we could search for the wonderful species that I had failed to find before. Will they be down here? It lives on the ground, almost invisible among the leaf litter. That? But Bertrand spotted it. How extraordinary.
This is a pygmy leaf chameleon, the smallest chameleon in the world.
In the world?
And probably the smallest reptiles in the world.
Of any kind? You know, I'd heard about these, and I was here in Madagascar 47 years ago, and I read about these, and I never saw one. And I think it was because I never knew they were as small as this. That is absolutely extraordinary. It's about the size of a blue bottle, a blowfly. And what does it feed on?
A small fly.
Small flies. How
Yeah.
absolutely wonderful. I am astonished. That is the most marvellous thing I've seen for a very, very long time. Finding the pygmy chameleon would not have been possible without Bertrand's expertise and sharp eyes. He's just one of the scientists who has helped to reveal to us the secret lives of reptiles and amphibians.